your book, Star-Spangled Crown.
Wow.
I think we need some clearing up to do on this one. It has been making a tangible impact on people's perceptions, in my opinion.
Perceptions of what?
On how to approach politics, on how to approach the emergence of religion in politics.
I see. All right.
In the book, so for those of you who somehow haven't read this yet, in the book, America becomes so bad off that the powers that be have no choice but to become a monarchy, and I guess a Catholic one. So, I mean, is that what we should be trying to do? Trying to bring about a monarchy, a Catholic monarchy, in order to convert the nation?
No. You see, I did it that way. As I say in the book, I highly doubt anything along the lines of what I've indicated would ever really happen. There's too much against it. And the way things stand now, the country is likely to be balkanized than it is to get a monarchy.
Now, balkanized, by that you mean just breaking up, fracturing into different...
Into different parts, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think, a lot of people favor that. A lot of people are extreme regionalists, extreme states writers, and all that, which is certainly understandable, especially given the kind of governance we've had. But we have, this is the country I was born in, and I love it. And I would rather see it, had I lived in 1860, I would have voted Constitutional Union.
So someone said, I didn't tell you this, but someone sent in the comments, says, the more I watch this show, the more I hate the country, or something like that. And he said, I guess that's the point. Is that the point?
No, it's not the point at all. What you've got to differentiate, ladies and gentlemen, between the ideology that has come to be, it was first invented to provide a focus of unity for a very disparate country, and which now is dying. You've got to differentiate between that notion, which has taken the place of authentic patriotism. We have never really developed a patriotism for the country as it is. Nothing will make you love this country more, ladies and gentlemen, than driving through it. If you have the chance, and stay off the freeways if you can, because that's not the country, that's getting from here to there. But if you set Little Miss GPS, you know the lady I mean, she runs your life half the time, You set her to no highways. You drive from San Diego to Maine, or from Miami to Seattle, or anything in between. You will come to have a great love for this nation. Every section of it has its own particular wonder. And again, for all of its faults, and despite the false precepts that ideology to which I referred earlier was based upon, this is the country where our ancestors came because for whatever reason they weren't making it back home. And this country gave them a home, gave them opportunity. And these are all things that make us owe our country. Patriotism is a religious virtue. It's important to remember that. Now, having said that, the country's great failing is that she does not have a unifying religion anymore. She does not have a unifying, animating principle. And because she's not France or England or even Mexico or Canada, and because we've all sold ourselves on the notion that her major reason for existing is as the vessel of freedom and the shining light, the shining city on the hill, the last great hope of mankind, that thing, that ideology, has obscured in the minds of people the real worth of this nation. So we have to develop a new patriotism based upon what's actually here. Now, that's part one. But part two is that we have some of the finest building blocks for a country that you'll ever see. But we've never really become one. Why? Because we lack the Catholic faith. That's why. With the faith, America could become a nation in the sense that France is, that French Canada was, that Mexico was, is Colombia. These countries have real national identities, but they're based, even if modern politicians and media people don't like it, they're based upon the faith. And the strength that it has given those countries has allowed them to overcome traumas, the like of which we've never seen, but which we may. And as things now, if we ever are hit with traumas of that nature, we'll smash. So, no, it's not, the point is not to hate this country. The point is to love it realistically, warts and all, and out of that love, to want to evangelize it. Now, here's the thing, though. You can't love what you don't know. There's a threefold deal here. We have an obligation to evangelize. But you cannot evangelize either a person or a group or a country. You cannot evangelize it unless you love it. But here's the rub. You can't love it unless you know it. There's a reason, ladies and gentlemen, why so many of the best ethnographic museums in the world were assembled by missionaries. Why? Because a missionary goes into a region, he wants to convert it, what's he got to do? He's got to learn about it. That's why. Because he can't love it until he learns it, and until he loves it, he can't evangelize it. So we need to know our country a lot better. Not just our little portion of it. As much of it as we can. One of the happiest days in my recent history was finding out that American heritage is coming back to life. I love that thing. Now, mind you, as with so much of American historiography, it's imbued with the dying ideology of the country. But there's so much that isn't. And you know, you may not love, and I certainly don't, our breaking away from Britain in 1776. But that doesn't keep you from loving the 4th of July, the fireworks, the celebration of the country that we have. It's also interesting to note that all the stuff we do for the 4th of July, the fireworks, the parades, the banquets, all that stuff, we actually originally used for the King's birthday. So it was the only way we knew how to celebrate anything, so that's what we did. The point I'm making is that rather than trying to instaur a monarchy, which would be of doubtful providence simply because it would not have an organic development, what we need to do is start at the bottom by evangelizing the country we have. So, here's my advice. Get to know your country. All 50 states and the territories and so forth. I mean, if you can't do it by actually traveling, that's why God made the internet. Secondly, love it. Think of the different cultures here. The Pennsylvania Dutch, the Creoles of Louisiana, the coffee house drinkers in Seattle, Little Italy in New York, Calle Ocho in Miami. There's just so much here. It was one of the reasons I love the now unpersoned Garrison Keillor. I loved his stuff. I mean, his views I don't care much for. But his storytelling and so forth, sheer Americana. So, learn the country, love the country, evangelize the country. Because without trying to evangelize it, you don't really love it. And the thing is, if ever this country is converted, remember that the institutions of old Christendom, to include Catholic Monarchy, developed organically. They grew from the confluence of the faith with what was already there. That is what we have to shoot for. Now, having said that, I think you shouldn't study monarchy, or know about it, or see how it applies. Moreover, as I point out in Star-Spangled Crown, a huge piece of our heritage in this country is monarchical, which is conveniently overlooked. That's the kind of thing that we have to bring up to people's notice. You wouldn't have sheriffs without monarchy. You wouldn't have coroners or notaries public. Or the chain of title in 3/4 of the United States goes back to some king or other in pieces of real estate. And as I love to say, the two great conundrums here, whether we have feudal or allodial law, and whether the states or the feds inherited the king's sovereignty. Think of how those two questions would be resolved if we had a monarchy, which is something to be pointed out. One of the reasons why the courts have never decided whether we have feudal law, that is to say, everyone owns the land in rent, as it were, from a higher authority, or allodial, everyone owns the land completely, totally. The reason why that's an important issue is because if you have allodial ownership, you can't have eminent domain. But if you have eminent domain, well, that means you've got feudal ownership, except that by our Constitution, we do not have a king or any kind of a feudal lord. You see?
Uh-huh.
And these are exactly the sort of conundra, I love that word, conundra that have to be brought to the public attention. Get people's little gray cells thinking. So, that's my point, ladies and gentlemen. Love this country. Love it with all your heart, because it's where God put you. If you were born here, or if your parents brought you here, or even if you came here yourself. That doesn't mean that it's the greatest country in the world and all the rest of them are garbage. That is the opposite era, and it's an era. It's a terrible era. But right patriotism, true patriotism, Catholic patriotism, loves the country as it is, save that it attempts to evangelize it.